Behind every empire of unimaginable wealth, there's a woman who holds the real power, not with force, but with silence. In Monaco, where diamonds outshine the stars and money moves like the tide, one story stands above them all. The love between Zeus, the god of modern finance, and the mysterious woman the world now calls his queen. She wasn't born royal, yet her presence commands more respect than any crown. Their romance didn't begin with passion, but with power, a collision between two unstoppable forces that would turn love into legend. Tonight, Inside the Billionaires takes you deep inside a world where devotion is strategy and affection costs more than gold. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and stay until the end. Because this story will change the way you see love, power, and what it truly means to rule. They say some women are born to be admired, but she was born to be obeyed. Long before Zeus ever noticed her, she had already mastered the art of quiet power. In a world where money speaks loudly, she ruled through silence. She came from neither royalty nor privilege. No one remembers the exact moment she appeared in Monaco's elite circles. Only that from the first evening gala she attended, the air shifted. Conversations softened. Eyes followed. Even the wives of billionaires watched her with a mix of curiosity and unease. Her elegance wasn't the kind that begged attention, it commanded it. Her movements were deliberate, her voice calm, her smile, a promise and a warning at once. She didn't chase luxury, she embodied it. People whispered that she carried the kind of confidence money couldn't buy, the kind that made even powerful men second-guess themselves. And when Zeus, the man who conquered markets and built empires, finally met her, he didn't see beauty, he saw control. That night, as champagne sparkled under the Monaco lights, the god of wealth took one look at her and realized that for the first time in his life, he was no longer the one being worshipped. They say every man has a moment that humbles him, even the ones who rule the world. For Zeus, that moment began the night their eyes met. It was a charity gala in Monte Carlo, chandeliers glittering like constellations, violins echoing through marble halls, and a sea of diamonds reflecting the Riviera lights. He arrived late, as he always did, the center of attention, the billionaire god who never needed to chase anything. Until her. She wasn't like the others. No red lips, no loud laughter, no need to prove she belonged there. She stood alone by the balcony, the moonlight draped over her shoulders like silk, calm, composed, untouchable. When Zeus approached, the room seemed to fade. No words were exchanged, just a look. But it was enough. For the first time, the man who controlled markets felt something he couldn't control: curiosity. She greeted him not with awe, but with poise, as if she'd been expecting him. And perhaps she had. That night, they didn't dance. They didn't need to. The air between them was electric, charged with power, pride, and something dangerously close to fate. Yet as dawn broke over Monaco, one thing was clear: this was no ordinary love story. It was the beginning of a silent war. When two alphas fall in love, it's never just romance, it's strategy. Their relationship began like a merger, not a fairy tale. Every word between them felt like a negotiation, every touch a calculated risk. Zeus was used to dominance, in business, in love, in life. He always won. But with her, victory felt uncertain. She never raised her voice, yet she could end an argument with a single glance. She didn't need to challenge him, she simply understood him too well. And that frightened him more than any rival. At private dinners overlooking the Mediterranean, they discussed art, politics, and power. Never emotion. To outsiders, they looked perfect. To each other, they were mirrors, reflecting ambition, pride, and the fear of surrender. Some nights, their connection burned bright, magnetic, intoxicating. Other nights, the silence between them was louder than thunder. She once told a friend, "Love isn't about losing yourself. It's about controlling what the other person believes they've found." And Zeus, the man who built empires on logic, found himself addicted to that mystery. But in a world built on power, even love comes with a price. And soon, the queen would make her first move. one that would change everything. In Monaco, even love has a price tag. But Zeus's proposal was beyond valuation. It wasn't romance, it was a declaration of empire. It happened one quiet night at Port Hercule. The harbor shimmered under 1,000 hidden lights, and the Mediterranean glowed like liquid silver. He arrived not in a limousine, but in his custom 1989 Batmobile, a symbol of his power and playfulness. When the engine stilled, the night itself seemed to hold its breath. She emerged in a silver gown that caught every reflection from the sea, her hair pinned with sapphire jewels. She looked less like a woman and more like a prophecy fulfilled. Then, beneath a sky of synchronized fireworks, Zeus knelt, presenting a 50-carat diamond so rare it rivaled the crown jewels of Monaco. No paparazzi, no press, only a handful of witnesses, billionaires, royals, and friends flown in by private jet. It was not a proposal. It was a coronation. When she said yes, the applause was quiet, almost reverent, the kind reserved for queens. But as the last spark of fireworks faded over the harbor, one truth lingered in the smoke. This was not the end of their love story. It was the beginning of an empire. They called it a mansion. She called it strategy. Perched high above Monte Carlo, overlooking the sapphire blue Mediterranean, stood her home, a fortress carved from marble, gold, and intention. Every corner spoke her language, quiet dominance. The grand staircase spiraled beneath chandeliers dripping with diamonds, while the scent of white roses, her signature, lingered in the air. An entire floor was devoted to haute couture, Dior, Elie Saab, and vintage Chanel stored behind glass that recognized only her touch. In the afternoons, she hosted private tea salons, attended only by princesses, heiresses, and billionaires who never appeared in Forbes. Conversations were light, but alliances were made. Even her terrace had purpose. From there, she could see the entire Riviera, the harbors, the palaces, the wealth, all beneath her gaze. Those who entered her home often left changed. Some said they felt inspired, others felt intimidated, but all agreed on one thing. This was no housewife. This was a ruler, patient, precise, and utterly aware of her power. Every painting, every marble column, every diamond on her wrist was placed not for beauty, but for meaning. And as night fell over Monaco, her lights burned long after the city slept, because the Queen's kingdom never truly rests, it plans. In Monaco, whispers travel faster than yachts. Soon after their engagement, the headlines began. Stories of tension, betrayal, and power struggles disguised as love. Some claimed Zeus had grown distant, buried in business. Others said she had become the one pulling the strings. Neither confirmed, neither denied. Because in their world, silence was strategy. Behind closed doors, the perfect couple began to fracture. Business meetings turned into arguments about control. Affection became a chessboard where every move mattered. She understood the power of perception. A single appearance could calm the storm or ignite it. At charity events, she smiled flawlessly beside him, every gesture rehearsed to perfection. Cameras saw unity, but insiders saw calculation. Rumors spread that she'd begun building something of her own, an investment network under her name, a circle of influence beyond Zeus's reach. He once ruled the markets, but she was now mastering the art of ruling the narrative. Late one night, on the balcony of their golden mansion, Zeus reportedly asked her, "Do you still love me?" She didn't answer. She simply turned, her reflection shimmering in the glass, and whispered, "Love never leaves, it just learns where to hide." And from that night on, Monaco began to wonder who truly ruled the empire, Zeus or his queen? In a world built on image and fortune, some love stories fade. Theirs evolved. What began as passion turned into partnership and eventually into a dynasty. Together, Zeus and his queen became more than a couple. They became an empire. Every move, every public appearance, every decision was perfectly orchestrated. He handled power, she handled perception, and together they mastered both. They launched foundations that rivaled royal charities, hosted galas that shaped global alliances, and built estates grander than palaces. Monaco's skyline glittered with their reflection, glass, gold, and ambition intertwined. People no longer called her Zeus's wife. They called her the Diamond Queen, the woman who turned luxury into legacy. Yet behind every dazzling event was something deeper. Trust rebuilt, love redefined. She once told a confidant, "We don't chase crowns. We craft them, piece by piece, in silence." Now, when they walked through the marble halls of their empire, they no longer looked like lovers competing for control, but like rulers who finally understood it. Still, one question lingered through Monaco's golden nights. In a world where gods can fall and queens can rise, who truly holds the crown? In Monaco, where luxury is a language and power is the currency, their story became legend. Zeus, the man who ruled empires, and the woman who ruled him. She wasn't just his partner, she was his reflection, the calm to his storm, the mind behind his moves. Together, they redefined what love means among the elite. Not submission, but balance. Not fame, but legacy. From their golden mansion to the floating palace and the jet that bore her name, everything they built shimmered with intent. A kingdom crafted from elegance, strategy, and unspoken trust. While others flaunted power, she mastered the art of silence. And that silence became her crown. As the Riviera glows beneath their empire of glass and gold, one truth remains. True power doesn't shout. It whispers, in diamonds, in loyalty, and in love that never needed to be seen to be believed. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to Inside the Billionaires, where every story unveils the truth behind wealth, power, and the people who dare to rule both. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you in the next episode.